Hello and welcome back to our channel. Today, we're traveling back in time to explore one of the most transformative periods in human history. The Industrial Revolution. This wasn't just about a few new gadgets. It was a complete overhaul of society, the economy, and the very way people lived their lives. So, grab a cup of tea, get comfortable, and let's dive into how our modern world was forged in the fires of industry. Our story begins in Great Britain, in the late 18th century. For thousands of years, the way things were made had barely changed. If you wanted a piece of cloth, someone had to spin the thread and weave it by hand. If you needed a tool, a blacksmith would hammer it into shape. Production was slow, localized, and everything was powered by muscle, wind, or water. This was the age of the artisan, the small-scale farmer, and the cottage industry. But something was about to change. A series of incredible inventions would shatter this old world and create a new one. It all started with a puff of steam. While early steam engines existed, it was James Watt's improvements in the 1760s and 70s that turned them into the powerhouse of the revolution. Suddenly, we had a reliable, powerful source of energy that wasn't dependent on a river or the wind. This engine could be put anywhere, and it could power anything. And what it powered first was the textile industry. Think about clothing. Before this, making fabric was a painfully slow process. But then came inventions like the spinning jenny, which could spin multiple spools of thread at once, and the power loom, which automated the weaving process. Suddenly, one worker could produce what dozens had done before. The demand for cotton skyrocketed, and Britain's textile output exploded. But where would you put these huge, noisy, steam-powered machines? You couldn't fit them in a cottage. You needed a factory. The rise of the factory system was a game-changer. For the first time, work was centralized. Instead of working from home, people had to travel to a specific place, the factory, and work set hours, often dictated by the relentless rhythm of the machines. This created a completely new way of life. Entire families left their ancestral villages and farms, drawn by the promise of steady wages in the rapidly growing industrial towns and cities like Manchester, Liverpool, and Glasgow. This massive movement of people is what we call urbanization. These new industrial cities sprang up almost overnight. They were exciting, dynamic places, but also chaotic and often squalid. Housing couldn't keep up with the influx of people, leading to overcrowded tenements with poor sanitation. Working conditions in the factories were often brutal. Long hours, low pay, and dangerous machinery were the norm. Child labor was widespread, with children as young as 5 or 6 working in mines and factories. These harsh realities gave rise to new social problems and tensions that society had never faced before on this scale. But the revolution wasn't just happening in factories. It was happening on the move. The steam engine didn't just power looms, it powered locomotives and steamships. The invention of the railway was revolutionary. Suddenly, you could transport massive quantities of raw materials like coal and iron to the factories, and then ship finished goods across the country and around the world at speeds never before imagined. Canals and improved roads also played their part, but it was the iron horse that truly connected the new industrial world. This transportation revolution fueled a massive expansion of trade. Britain's manufactured goods flooded global markets, and in return raw materials poured in from its vast empire. This created immense wealth and solidified the principles of capitalism as the dominant economic system. The social landscape was also redrawn. The old aristocracy, whose wealth was based on land, found their influence waning. In their place, 2 new powerful classes emerged. First, there was the industrial middle class, or the bourgeoisie. These were the factory owners, the inventors, the bankers, and the merchants who profited from the new industries. They built grand houses, educated their children, and championed the values of hard work, thrift, and individual enterprise. And then there was the industrial working class, the proletariat. This was the vast army of men, women, and children who sold their labor in the factories and mines. They owned nothing but their ability to work, and their lives were often precarious, dependent on the whims of the economy and their employers. The shared experiences of hardship and exploitation in the factories and cities forged a new sense of class consciousness among these workers. They began to organize into unions, to demand better wages, safer conditions, and shorter hours. This struggle between labor and capital would become one of the defining themes of the 19th and 20th centuries, leading to social reforms, political movements, and even revolutions. The Industrial Revolution wasn't a single event, but a wave of change that spread from Britain across the globe. By the mid-19th century, countries like Belgium, France, Germany, and the United States were undergoing their own industrial transformations. Each nation adapted the new technologies to its own resources and circumstances, but the fundamental results were the same: massive economic growth, urbanization, and a complete restructuring of society. Think about the world we live in today. We live in cities, work in specialized jobs, buy mass-produced goods from all over the world, and travel at incredible speeds. Our lives are shaped by technology, from the electricity that powers our homes to the computers in our pockets. All of this has its roots in the Industrial Revolution. It was the moment that humanity truly harnessed the power of fossil fuels and machines, setting us on the path to the modern technological age. It created immense wealth and opportunity, lifting millions out of poverty and leading to a standard of living unimaginable to our ancestors. However, it also came at a great cost. The social inequalities, the environmental pollution from burning coal, and the often brutal exploitation of workers are also part of its legacy. The challenges we face today, from climate change to global economic inequality, are in many ways the long-term consequences of the choices and developments made during this period. In essence, the Industrial Revolution was the birth of the modern world. For better and for worse, it was a time of genius and invention, but also of hardship and struggle. It created the foundations of our economic systems, our political ideologies, and even our family structures. By understanding this pivotal era, we can better understand ourselves and the world we have inherited. It's a story of steam and steel, of progress and pain, and it's a story that is still unfolding today. Thanks so much for watching. What part of the Industrial Revolution do you find most fascinating? Let me know down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the events that shaped our world. See you in the next video.